Thank you, and welcome everybody. Doing another quarterly update, and I'm going to go through a few things today. A sales update, some update on our clinical programs, and some actions that we're taking towards growing the Travelan brand globally. Work out how to... Just quickly on the safe harbour statement, the year-to-date sales figures are unaudited, given that we're not at the end of the financial year. You'll all be aware that Immuron's a biopharmaceutical company developing and commercialising oral immunotherapeutics for treatment of gut-mediated diseases using our bovine colostrum platform. We have two products available, Travelan and Protectin, and 4 clinical programs. That's IMM124E, Camp ETEC, IMM529, and Travelan. Our current market cap is slightly higher than the last time we did one of these webinars at 17.08 million, but currently still below cash that we had in the bank as of 31st December 2022. Quickly on the business update, so Camp ETEC, I was hoping the last time we spoke that we would get feedback from the FDA releasing us from the clinical hold in March. That seems now more likely to come in May. We have, between the last time we spoke and today, completed a toxicology study showing that Camp ETEC is safe. That has been submitted to the FDA, currently under review, before they respond to our clinical hold. Other good news on the clinical programs is Travelan in this field study being undertaken by the Uniform Health Services University in the P2TD study. Last time we spoke, it was 150 patients had been recruited. We're now up to 300, so that's doubled. We're now at 35% of the target, 868 participants. So the timelines, which I'll show in a later slide, are still on track. In the US, we have our own shop front set up on Amazon.com, which I previously mentioned we were working towards. Launch is pending establishing necessary safety stock levels to make sure that once we launch and grow the Travelan brand in the US, that we have the stock to support that. In Canada, I'd mentioned that we were looking to launch into retail pharmacy in FY24. We have recently submitted for range review to a major pharmacy chain. So if that's successful, we would be looking at launching in around July of this calendar year. And just in case there's any questions on the pharmacy market in the USA, we're also looking to explore that for launch in FY24, and have started discussions with a number of smaller chains in the southern states, those bordering the Latin American markets, where there's the potential for cross-border travel, prevention of travellers' diarrhoea, and taking Travelan. On the results and sales outlook, and I'll provide a little bit more detail in the following slide. Good news is, since the recent report for the end of the quarter, sales have increased by 320,000 to year-to-date to 14th of April. So we're now up to 1.78 million. That represents a 233% increase on the prior comparative period for last year. Australian sales contribute 1.18 million of that, and that's obviously a larger component than the US market and Canadian market should, by population, be greater than Australia, not at present. So we're looking to grow both the US and Canadian markets, and hence the previous discussions about Amazon.com and launches into retail pharmacy. We're also looking at expanding globally. So clearly, travellers' diarrhoea is not a problem just restricted to Australians, Americans, and Canadians. So we're looking at options to enter the Asian and European markets through distributors, and are in discussions with a number of parties. We're also evaluating options to add additional marketed products in the gut health portfolio in FY24, and that's through both the product extensions of our own product pipeline, as well as in licensing products from third parties. Some more detail on the sales. So you can see Australian sales, 1.18 million, compared to the prior comparative period of 137,000, up an impressive 764%. Rest of the world, which is dominated by the US market, is 595,000 compared to 397, up 50%. In total, 1.78 million. compared to 534,000. These are all Australian dollars, up by 233%. Mentioned previously that the supply chain capacity had been holding back the sales increase. As we address that, and we continue to do so, we've contracted another packaging supplier to allow us to do that. As we continue to build our inventory, it'll increase our ability to meet the growing demand for our product. At present, Australian wholesalers are fully stocked, as are retail pharmacies, but we know that retail pharmacies are selling Traveland at an increasing rate as international travel increases. So we need to continue to restock the wholesalers. And we're building stock to allow for accelerated growth in international markets, namely USA. We've got that launch on Amazon.com pending, and building inventory for an anticipated launch in around July of this calendar year into the Canadian retail pharmacy market. On the clinical programs front, we'll go through each one at a time. I've highlighted in bold the new completed items compared to the last time. So you can see that for Camp ETEC, that toxicology study report I mentioned has been completed and submitted to the FDA. The FDA feedback to clinical hold response letter, not yet received, now anticipated to be received in May. IMM 529, haven't highlighted anything in green here, but I can tell you that we are actively working on the strategic planning and budget development, getting quotes from a number of CROs, preparing to present that to the board for approval. Still on track for doing that in the first half of 2023. For Traveland, this is the consumer product, the Uniformed Services University I mentioned before, conducting that field study, targeting 868 patients. We're now 35% recruited. That's around 300 patients have been recruited. So we're still on track for those primary study completion by the end of this calendar year, and study completion and full report in the first half of 2024. And I might just pause there, Grace, and allow time for anybody if they have any questions, which is the primary purpose of conveying this webinar today.
No worries, Stephen. I can see that we've had a couple of questions come through, so I might read those out whilst we're on the pause. First one, have the directors thought any more about buying more shares in the company? I believe this will assist in an improvement in the share price and give some needed market confidence.
I did receive that recommendation from the shareholder, likely the same one that posed this question, and yes, the directors are considering that.
The next question, great presentation and good to hear that sales are growing so fast. Do you expect total sales for this financial year will beat the record 2.52 million sales that the company achieved in FY20?
Look, I haven't been authorised by the directors to give a forecast for the end of the year. What the sales level that we can achieve is really depends on our supply chain, how quickly we can produce product to meet growing demand. So we're still in a catch-up mode. I expect that we will get to a position of having normal inventory levels around July of this year, which obviously is after the end of this financial year. So it really depends how quickly we can get that stock in.
Thanks. Another one has come through. With some of the pharma majors looking to sustain their revenue after some of their patents dropping off, is Immuron attractive? And if so, curious for those options.
Look, there's been some interesting deals recently. So Merck and GSK have made some major acquisitions looking to bolster their pipelines. I think we need to progress our clinical programs. So I'll just move to that slide. Once we're into phase 2 studies for both the Traveland and Camp ETEC, and probably most importantly on IMM 529, which is for Clostridioides difficile. That's a large opportunity. That one in particular will be particularly attractive to large pharma companies. So you'll recall back at the AGM presentation, I'll just flick through to that slide, which is in the backup of this deck. They assessed both Traveland, the that program that we're doing clinical trials, and also IMM 29 for Clostridioides difficile. So each of these markets in the market opportunities in the US alone are around the US $100 million. So not insubstantial opportunities, and we need to progress these trials to the point where potential partners recognise that both of these programs are having a good chance of clinical success. The market for them obviously is well established.
Next one, why do you think Immuron's market valuation has been similar to cash on hand for so long?
I was asked that question last time, and I'm not sure really, other than to say I think it has a lot to do with these programs that you see on this slide here have been sitting on the books of Immuron for quite some time. They haven't progressed as fast as what shareholders and investors would have liked, and we can blame partly COVID and the pandemic for that, but not entirely. So I think we need to be able to show, and that's the attempt in this slide here, to show that the things in green, things we said we were going to do, and complete them as per prediction. So at the moment, we're working on the first half of 2023. We've got a few items there that we need to complete, getting the IMM 124E ETEC CHIM trial up and running, releasing the clinical hold on CAMP ETEC, and getting board approval to move ahead with the IMM 529 in C. diff. If we're able to achieve those timelines, I think we'll start to see that recognition from shareholders and investors, see a turnaround in the share price.
Thank you. Another question, is there any update on Immuron's investment in Arteria Health? How is that business performing?
I need to get approval from Arteria to speak publicly about how they're going. And I do intend to do that sometime between now and the end of the financial year. They're an early stage company, launched their product for IBS Juvia into the UK market in August of last year, so still relatively early days. And they're presently working on launching that product in the Australian market in the direct-to-consumer. So perhaps after they launch, and that's not too far away, we might be in a position to provide a further update.
All right, that's all the questions that have been submitted so far, Stephen. I'll just hand back to you.
Yeah, very good. Look, I think, my contact information is here. Probably email is better than a phone call. If anybody does have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out. Within my capability to reply with publicly available information, I'll do that. And if I'm unable to answer with publicly available information, I'll look to make that information available to the public at the appropriate time so that we can answer those questions. So I am trying to keep the market, both existing shareholders and new shareholders, updated. My next public presentation to shareholders, if they wish to attend, or new investors, is at Coffee Microcaps on the 2nd of May in Melbourne. So have a look for that on I think I posted it on LinkedIn and also on Twitter. And if you can't find that, contact me and I'll provide details to you. There is I think I might be able to get a discount code for shareholders to attend that if they're interested.
All right. I just have one more sneaky question that came through, Stephen. And they've asked, are you going to do a investor roadshow in the US to improve the market cap of the company?
That is the plan. I think the appropriate time for doing that would be to achieve one or two of these milestones in the first half of 2023. On the back of that, a roadshow would be appropriate to update our. I think roughly 1/3 of all shareholding in Immuron is via the NASDAQ market. So it is time to do that roadshow in the US, and clearly the potential investor base in the US is much larger than it is in Australia alone.
Great. Thanks, Stephen. I think that wraps up today's presentation, if there's nothing else. Thank you, everyone, for joining. This concludes today's presentation.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.